Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's just picture this. A health crisis hitting nearly 1 billion people across the globe, often no symptoms, just silently moving forward until it's really late. That's actually the reality of chronic kidney disease, CKD, a really stealthy opponent.
But what if? What if there was a new way to see it coming, to unmask it long before it does serious harm?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And frankly, quite concerning how often our kidneys just sort of fly under the radar until there's a major issue. Our sources for this deep dive, they really highlight not just this global silent epidemic, but they also introduced some truly groundbreaking science, stuff that could completely change how we protect these absolutely vital organs. And that's exactly why we're digging into this today. This deep dive is really your shortcut to understanding a huge shift happening in medicine. We're going to explore the, frankly, shocking global impact of CKD, reveal the critical blind spots and how we currently diagnose it, and then really get into these revolutionary new biomarkers. These promise much earlier detection and, well, a more proactive way forward for kidney health.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
So let's kick off with just the sheer scale, what the research calls the silent epidemic. When you think about the big global health problems, cancer probably comes to mind, maybe diabetes. But what we found in the sources, it's genuinely startling. Almost 850 million people worldwide living with some kind of kidney dysfunction, often just, ignoring maybe subtle things like fatigue, completely unaware that there's this ticking clock.
It's a huge number. And just to put it into perspective a bit more sharply, the prevalence of kidney problems globally, it actually beats cancer.
Yeah.
And it's double that of diabetes.
Double diabetes.
Yeah. And, right here in the U.S., it's about 1 in every 7 people dealing with some kidney issue. But here's the kicker. Nearly 90% of them, they won't find out until the disease is already in the advanced stages.
90%,
It's a silent crisis, absolutely hiding in plain sight.
that's an incredible hidden burden. But what's maybe even more confusing is that this crisis seems to be growing. Even with all the medical progress we see elsewhere, the data shows this weird paradox. CKD-related deaths actually jumped up by 50% between 2000 and 2019. And this is happening while we're seeing deaths from heart disease and stroke actually going, right, often because of new tech. So it just makes you ask, why are kidneys bucking that trend so hard?
It's a really critical question. In the projections, they suggest if things keep going like this, CKD, which right now is like the 16th leading cause of years of life lost globally, it's set to climb, it could become the 5th leading cause by 2040.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you connect that to the bigger picture, this isn't just, a medical challenge. It's a profound societal issue, a major public health challenge.
So what's actually driving this alarming increase? The sources point to a few things. They talk about, more sedentary lifestyles, relying more on processed foods, junk food, and also what they call a dependence on avoidable medicines.
Right.
There's even a mention of misleading, pseudoscience-oriented promotional content, perhaps playing a role in how people make health choices. It really sounds like, I don't know, a perfect storm.
It does seem like it. And there's a specific detail that really highlights that link between lifestyle and kidney health. Individuals who already have CKD, if they also have an increased body mass index, their risk for disabilities, even death, is 3 times higher compared to those with CKD but a normal BMI.
3 times higher.
Yeah. It just underscores how much kidney health can be hit by, the obesity epidemic we're seeing.
Okay, so we've painted a pretty stark picture here of this silent crisis. But how? How are we missing it so often? Especially with all our medical tech and awareness campaigns for other big diseases. What does this actually mean for you, listening, and how you approach your own health?
Well, it really forces us to take a hard look at our current diagnostic tools, doesn't it? And our whole approach to kidney health. It seems pretty clear that the methods we've been relying on, they're just not catching the full picture early enough. And that's precisely what needs to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to really grasp what these new tests can do, maybe we need a quick reminder of what our kidneys actually do. And crucially, why our current methods often, fall short. We tend to think of them as just filters, right, for waste. But the research actually calls them biological marvels.
Oh, they absolutely are. Your kidneys filter something like nearly 25% of all the blood your heart pumps, day in, day out, constantly working. And their job goes way beyond just waste removal. They regulate your blood pressure, they balance essential minerals, clear out toxins. I mean, any major failure, that's a direct threat to your life.
And And another key thing the sources mention is that CKD is highly varied. It hits everyone differently, and predicting how it'll progress is really tough. That's why some people might have stable function for years, while others decline fast, even with similar starting points.
Okay, so they're critical players. How do we usually check on them? You mentioned the gold standard tests.
Right, the traditional ones. First, there's the EGFR estimated glomerular filtration rate. You
Hmm.
can kind of think of that like the speedometer in your car.
Yeah.
Tells you how well your kidneys are clearing waste.
Speedometer. Okay.
And then there's the UACR. That's the urine albumin to creatinine ratio. That's more like checking your car engine for, say, an oil leak. It signals if protein is leaking out, which means potential damage.
Right. Oil leak. Got it.
These tests, they've definitely been useful, but the sources point out some really significant diagnostic blind spots.
Diagnostic blind spots. Okay.
Mm.
What does that actually mean in practice? Like, how much are we missing by the time these standard tests raise a red flag? Well, the research describes this painful occurrence. By the time those EGFR results come back showing a definite problem, you might have already lost up to 50% of your kidney function.
Half.
Yeah, half. The analogy they use is like your smoke alarm only going off after half the house is already on fire.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not early detection at all.
Exactly. It's often far too late for the most effective early interventions.
So that's EGFR. What about the other one, the UACR, the oil leak test? Does it have similar issues?
It does, yeah. There's what the sources call a painful reality with UACR too. While it's pretty good at spotting damage to the main filtering units, it can often completely miss early injury to other really important parts of the kidney, like the tubules.
Tubules. What do they do again?
They're crucial. They reabsorb vital nutrients back into your body and help get rid of waste, so early damage there. The UACR test might not pick it up at all. It can go unnoticed.
Okay, so even with these two main tests, we're potentially missing the early signs. And get this, the sources also say the accuracy of both EGFR and UACR can be messed with by other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Things like what time of day you take the test, what you've been eating, your muscle mass, even your age, all these variables can impact the results,
Hmm.
which means you can't just, blindly trust the numbers. You often need more investigation to get the full picture.
So connecting this back, these traditional tests, they're based on science, but they often tell the story too late, right?
Exactly. They tell us a story that's already pretty far along, which raises that big question for you, the listener. How can we possibly spot kidney injury much earlier, before that irreversible damage happens?
And thankfully, that is exactly where these game-changing advancements come in. These revolutionary biomarkers. It's what the research calls a new dawn for detection. The first big one they focus on is something called KIM-1, kidney injury molecule 1.
Yes, KIM-1 is really quite remarkable. Basically, the moment kidney cells get injured, they get stressed, and they start producing this KIM-1 protein. And it shows up in both your urine and your blood. But here's the really crucial part. KIM-1 is not normally present in healthy kidneys at all.
Ah, okay.
So if it's there, it's a very strong, very specific, and very early signal that something's wrong. Injury has happened.
That's a massive difference. It changes everything. The research has this great analogy for it. This test is just like that ultra-sensitive smoke detector that starts shouting at the slightest smell of smoke in your car and doesn't wait until half of the engine is on fire.
Exactly. It fundamentally shifts the focus. We're moving from just diagnosing damage that's already there to actually predicting future risk. It lets you step in before that whole cascade of irreversible harm really gets going.
So it shows up really early,
Yeah.
before the standard tests.
That's right. KIM-1 levels can spike right at the very beginning of an injury, often way before the EGFR or UACR show any dysfunction, and definitely before you'd feel any symptoms. And another big plus. Unlike those traditional tests, KIM-1 results aren't really affected by things like your age or muscle mass, which often muddy the waters with EGFR and UACR,
Okay.
and large clinical studies. They've shown that a big jump in KIM-1 can signal that a kidney is declining rapidly. It can even help predict the risk of death in CKD patients. And if you see KIM-1 increasing in both urine and blood at the same time, the sources call that an alarming signal.
Wow. So what does this mean for you listening? These aren't just, random science acronyms. Our sources literally call them actual whistleblowers against CKD. They offer this whole new level of precision, of foresight. And KIM-1 isn't alone in this, right? There are others.
Absolutely not alone. Beyond KIM-1, the research highlights a whole suite of these promising markers. Each one kind of fills in a different piece of the diagnostic puzzle, really broadening our ability to detect things early.
Like what? What are some of the others?
Well, for instance, there are STNFR1 and STNFR2. Those stand for soluble tumor necrosis factor receptors 1 and 2. Bit of a mouthful, but basically they give us a clearer view of inflammation and the risk of kidney disease, especially helpful in patients who also have diabetes.
Okay, inflammation markers.
Then there's one called suPAR, that soluble urokinase plasminogen activator receptor. This one acts almost like a warning light for your immune system. It signals localized inflammation that might predict a decline in kidney function down the road.
Interesting. And you mentioned something about heart health markers being relevant too.
Precisely. NT-proBNP and HSCTNT. We usually think of these as cardiac markers, right, for heart issues. But now we know they can also predict cardiovascular events and even death, specifically in CKD patients. It just really underlines that critical link between heart health and kidney health. They're deeply connected. And one more they mention is DKK3. Dickhoff-Want signaling pathway inhibitor 3. This one's like an early whistleblower, specifically for future kidney function decline. It can indicate the risk of kidney scarring, which is called renal fibrosis.
It's just incredible how these different markers are changing the landscape, offering such detailed insight. But, beyond the lab tests and the science, there's the human side of this. The research talks about how patients often feel, well, denial, shock, a profound loneliness when they get a diagnosis, like they're overwhelmed on an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, absolutely. That experience is incredibly real and often just heartbreaking for people. And making it even harder is what the sources call the awareness gap. Think about this. Only about 20 to 25% of people with CKD actually have even a basic awareness of the disease.
Only quarter, roughly.
Yeah, and that huge lack of knowledge makes it so much tougher for people to, advocate for themselves, for their own health effectively.
Which really underscores why self-advocacy is just so vital here. Understanding these new biomarkers, talking about advanced testing options with your doctor, that becomes crucial. This whole shift allows for genuinely proactive, personalized medicine, moving away from just reacting to the disease once it's already taken hold.
And technology is pushing this forward incredibly fast. Machine learning, AI, they can chew through all this biomarker data and spot patterns of kidney dysfunction with really high precision. Plus, the sources emphasize that real-time continuous monitoring of kidney function is now practically possible. Think about ongoing developments in wearable sensors.
Wearables for kidney function, imagine that.
The potential for truly personalized minute-by-minute health management is just enormous.
That sounds like the future we definitely want. But we also have to touch on health equity. The research makes this really powerful point. When health is devoid of equity, no achievement has any sense, any purpose.
It's such a critical point. The data shows it again and again. Disadvantaged communities, they bear a much higher burden of kidney disease, disproportionately higher. Look at this stat. In low-income nations, maybe only 2% of people with kidney failure can actually get life-saving dialysis. Just 2%.
2%.
Now, compare that to high-income countries. Access isn't perfect there either. Maybe 30% still struggle to get dialysis, but overall, access is significantly better for most patients. The gap is just stark.
And the cost, the economic hit must be massive.
Staggering. The sources talk about CKD management imposing catastrophic expenses, impacting something like 188 million people in low and lower middle income countries. It's not just a personal health tragedy, it's a huge drain on entire economies. But here's the hopeful part. Early biomarker detection, by catching things sooner, could significantly cut those costs. By preventing the need for really expensive end-stage treatments like dialysis or transplants. But it brings up that really important question for all of us, doesn't it? How do we make sure these amazing new advancements don't just end up benefiting the wealthy few? How do we ensure they genuinely contribute to global health equity, especially given these huge economic and social divides the sources highlight? It can't just be about the cool science. It has to be about fair access to it.
Absolutely. So just to recap where we've been, this deep dive has shown us this silent crisis, CKD, impacting millions, often slipping past detection until it's dangerously late. We look at the real limitations of our current tests, the EGFR and UACR. And then we turn to the, honestly, immense promise of these new biomarkers like KIM1. They're really heralding a new era of early detection of proactive kidney care.
It really is that shift, isn't it? From just reacting to disease to being proactive with personalized medicine. And the sources make a great point. You don't need to be a doctor to know your basic risk factors. If you have a high BMI, if kidney issues run in your family, if you have heart disease or high blood pressure, it's so important to talk proactively with your healthcare providers. Don't wait. As one source says, waiting for signs or symptoms can be the biggest mistake ever. because by then, so much function might already be lost.
Right. This journey through the research really shows that a CKD-free future is not as far as you may assume. Not if we embrace these scientific leaps and really prioritize prevention in our own health.
Exactly. With these advanced biomarker tests becoming more available, the core message seems clear. Prevention is the key, and happiness is the aim.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Just imagine a world where your kidney health isn't some silent guessing game, where it's a transparent journey you can manage right from the very first faint whisper of a problem. What would that truly mean for global health? If that vision, that idea of early prevention leading to happier, healthier lives, that becomes our reality, especially for the most vulnerable people around the world.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this video valuable, smash that like button and subscribe to BioTuber Online for more exciting updates on medical research and biotechnology breakthroughs. Hit the button icon so you never miss our latest discoveries. Explore the videos on your screen for even more fascinating insights. And remember, stay curious and keep exploring.